Hey everyone, and welcome to Isms by Josie. Today we're going to be doing a snack knit kit that I got from Five Below. For my returning subscribers, thank you so much for tuning in. And for my new viewers, please consider subscribing, share, hit that like button, leave a comment below, and click on that notification bell for future videos. So today, you guys, I am doing another snack knit kit, throwing that sucker in there in between my crochet kit or crochet videos. So this is a viewer request. We're doing Juicy Cutie today. I didn't have this in the beginning, but then I did find it in a bunch of, I think this might have been an online purchase. Yeah, the last time I went to a Five Below, I did find a really good amount of kits, but there were more of the itty bitties. So this one was an online find, and it's for the snack knit kit. So in this box, you're gonna be getting some needles, plastic needle, some pipe cleaners, stuffing, yarn, and then the felt sticker. I'm hoping is a felt it's not actually. You can see the holes. You have to sew them in place, but that's okay. So let's pull out all the contents in this box. Alright, this little thing came out. Okay, so we have our yarn nice and plush. We've got our instructional booklet. We have our stuffing with needles, our knitting needles. Then we have our plastic needle. And then we have our little felt piece here. Yeah, it's not a sticker, but you have to sew. There's these little perforated holes that are intact, and now that I'm thinking about it, last time I removed these for the lemonetta. I'm going to keep them in this one so that it can kind of cover the hole. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, so we got that. I'm going to put this stuff back in, and we're going to go straight into the instructional booklet. Okay, so I'm going to set these needles aside, and then we're going to take a look at this yarn here. It's a decent size amount of orange. What I like to do is get inside this little spool of yarn and pull out the end. That way when you get your feeder yarn from the inside of this spool, it's not rolling around. So hopefully I can find that. Sometimes it's hit or miss. See, I'm pulling out a huge chunk, but I think I got the end somewhere in here. And then you're going to end up knitting all of this anyway, so it'll shorten up and then you're going to be back to normal. Alright, so these videos are a supplement to the instructions. If you would like to make this project, I highly recommend checking your local Five Below, if not online, and getting yourself one of these kits. I am going to go over new stitches at least 3 times, step by step, and then I'm going to be going through the instructions. If there's anything funky, I'll try to, entangle them, and hopefully it'll be more understandable. But I like this booklet, very illustrational, and it tells you and shows you how to do each kind of a stitch. As you know, I do not read instructions. So I'm just gonna do this based on my knowledge, so hopefully I don't screw it up for you guys. It does come with their ruler, which I think is really great. So we're definitely going to need this to measure off. If you don't have, if you don't want to use this, you can use like a tape measure or anything like that. But alright, so in total, we're going to be making 4 rectangles. The first one that we're going to do, we have to have a 32-inch tail. Alright, so also, if you need to speed down or slow the video, click on the gear button in the corner. There's playback options to go fast or slow. If you don't need to hear me speak, you could always lower the volume on your device and then click on the CC closed caption button. Alright, so let's measure out 32 inches. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and 32. Alright, so I measured out 32 inches. You want to pinch the end piece here. I just need to switch my hands. I'm holding it kind of like the wrong way at the moment. So pinch the 32-inch mark. Let go of your left. Let's repinch the 32-inch mark this way so that your feeder yarn is going up and your tail end is going down. All right, so from here you're going to take your middle and ring finger, and we're just going to hold this a ways apart from your thumb. You want to make sure you secure and pinch tightly your thumb and your index, and leave a little loose your middle finger and ring finger. So what we're going to do is create a loop with our right hand. What you want to do is face your two fingers like this, facing up. We want to come up from the yarn and turn it upside down, and then I'm going to grab with my index and middle finger the yarn here, and I'm going to pull through the loop. So now we have this loop just floating in the middle here. What you want to do is push the knot closer to your thumb, and as you're doing this, you're going to notice that the knot will be getting tighter and tighter, and you just want to slip it down as close as you can get to your thumb. Okay, so mine is right here. Once you get it to where you cannot push the knot down any further, you can tighten up this knot just a little bit more by pulling on your thumb and index. Right, that's going to tighten it up. Then we're going to grip the knot. So hold it down like this. You can let go of your left. We're going to pull the feeder yarn. So this yarn we're just going to pull so that we make this loop a little bit more manageable. All right. I'm going to let go, and I'm going to show you we have our loop. So again, always keep your tail end down and your feeder yarn up. So now we're going to take our knitting needles and we're going to slip this through the loop. This one too. All right, and you can tighten them up a little bit more by pulling on the feeder yarn there. Alright, so now that we're here, we're going to go into knit mode stance. The knit is one of the basic stitches in knitting, and to set yourself up for that, you want to cross your needles in an X like this. So what you want to see is your left needle on top of your right needle. Okay? So this is how we're going to start every time we want to start a knit stitch. Again, keep your tail end down and your feeder yarn up. I'm going to go collect some feeder yarn with my index finger here. All right. And then we're going to start casting on stitches on our left needle. So usually you'll have your stitches on your left side when you start every row. So we got to do that. The instructions call for stitches on this needle, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So when you knit stitch, you always want to put your feeder yarn from back to forward and your right needle towards the back. So take your yarn and go back to forward, and then from here you're going to go straight down in between your two needles. From here you're going to slide your left needle down the right needle over the point and towards the back. So slide your needle over the right needle over the point. This is going to force your feeder yarn to poke through, and we're going to slide it down the back. So this is your feeder yarn. It forced it through that loop. What we're going to do from here is we're going to slip this loop onto the left needle. So take your left needle, put it through the loop, and then slide it off the right needle. Alright, okay, and then we're just going to, I'm going to show you how to do this a few more times. Alright, so let me show you this again. So from here, you're going to put your needle into the latest stitch that you casted onto your left needle. Right, slip that through like this, and like I said, To start a knit, you want to X your needles like this, left needle on front, right needle in the back. We are going to go back to forward with your feeder yarn, so back to forward, and then we're going to snap this down in between the two needles. Now from here, we're going to slide the left down the right, down to the taper, over the point, and back, and that's going to force the feeder yarn to pull through this loop. Oops, make sure you get it through the loop, just like that. And so now it forms a new loop. So from here you want to slip this loop over off the right onto the left. So stick your needle in that loop and lift it up off of the right, and it'll end up on the left. All right, let me show you this one more time. Stick your needle into the latest loop here. Cross your needles in an X. Left needle on top, right needle on the bottom. Take your feeder yarn. We're going to go back to forward. So back to forward and down in between your needles like this. Always keep your needles touching. You want to slide your left needle down the right, down the taper, over the point, and back. So let's do that now. And then it's going to force that yarn through the loop, creating a new loop on your right needle. We're going to slip this on to the left needle, and you're going to lift that off the right needle. Okay, so now we have 4 loops on here. We're just going to continue this as many times as it says in the booklet. So go on ahead and continue the rest. If you need to rewind the video, take this moment to rewind the video again. And again, you can always slow down the video if you really need to see that slower. But I'm just going to keep on casting on my stitches onto my left needle. And I kind of am not counting, actually. I'll count a little bit later. Once you get the hang of this, you will be going faster, and your stitches are going to be more consistent. So don't be too worried if right now some of your loops are too loose, if some of your loops are too tight. That's normal. Alright, once you have the number of stitches onto your left needle, you can take a moment and look at what I have here. See, I did have some stitches that weren't exactly the same tension, so I've got some loose ones, some tight ones, So it's all, you can see it all, and over time it'll get better. So all right, now for the rest of the project, that's all we're doing, knit stitches. We did cast on some stitches onto our left needle, but now what we have to do is to continue back and forth adding more rows to get to a certain length. So let me show you how to do that. So once you get the right number of stitches onto your needle, we're going to do the next row. I'm putting a lot of yarn here. It's not even a lot, but I usually do a lot. But so what we're going to do is, you want your knit stance again. I just left this in from before. So you want to have your left needle on top, your right needle at the bottom. And we're going to do the same thing that we've been doing. You want to go back to forward and down. We're going to slide our needle down and back, pushing this loop through that stitch there. So now we have a new loop on our right. What you want to do is remove the left loop off your needle. So we've used this, we created a new one here on the right. You want to remove the one on the left. So just slide that one down till it's completely off your needle, just like that. So let me show you again. Stick your needle into the next loop here, the next stitch. We're going to go back to forward and down, and then we're going to slide the needle down the taper over the point. It's going to force the feeder through that loop and create a new loop on your right needle, but then we're going to drop the one on our left, so you can just pull that right off. All right, so whatever number of stitches you started out on this side, when you're doing a row, you should end up with the same number on the right side. So let's do this one more time with you guys. Stick your needle into the next stitch here. We're going to go back to forward and down. We're going to slide our left needle over our right. It's going to create this new loop on our right needle, and then we're going to slip the loop off the left needle like that. So now we have 3. We did 3 knit stitches. We have 3 knit stitches on the right and the remaining stitches on the left. So you're just going to complete this all the way down. The goal is to end up with the same number of stitches that you started out with the left, but you want to move, quote unquote move, or create new stitches and put them all on the right needle. So as you see, my right needle is gaining 1, my left needle is losing 1. And we're just going to keep this going till we get all the way to the other end. Okay, so once you've completed that side, everything is now on your right needle and there's nothing on your left needle. We're just going to switch needles. Put your left needle to your right. We're going to take our right needle and flip it to your left. Right, we're going to situate our row, make it nice and even. You can tell by this, you don't want it to be like that. Alright, everything's all twisted. You want it to be nice and even and straight. That way you won't be accidentally creating new ones. If this one here, see how it goes all the way in a line? That's right. Now if I accidentally twisted my yarn and kept it in the back and pulled, now I have 2. Right? Because it twisted. You don't want that. You want to make sure that, and you can see that the line is going up. You want to make sure that that line is down and even and your stitches are down all the time, and that will prevent you from making any mistakes. Well, I wouldn't say any, but some mistakes. All right. So let's do another row. I'm going to show you how to do that. So again, just stick your hook into the latest loop here. We're going to go from back to forward and down. Slide the left over the right, forcing that feeder yarn through the loop, and then you can remove this loop off the left. Again, stick your hook into the next stitch here. We're going to go back to forward and down. You're going to slide the left needle over the right, forcing the feeder yarn through the loop, and then you're going to slip this loop off the left. One more time with you guys. Into the next loop, put in your needle, go from back to forward and down. We're going to slide the needle over the right. It's going to pull the feeder yarn through that loop, and you're going to move this loop off the left needle. All right, so let's continue this all the way down till we get to the other side. And I've been doing this early 2000s, so I guess 25 years. And so, you know, if you do it more than once, you tend to get better. So you'll notice you can do it faster. At some point you're going to get to where you don't even have to look, especially if it's a knit stitch. You can kind of just feel it over time, and you end up not needing to look, which means you can, you know, watch TV or whatever you want to do, you know, do a hobby while you watch a kid, or, you know. All right, so I flipped it again. We're switching our left needle to our right needle to our left. I'm making sure that my line is straight and not curling up or down. And then we can do another row, and that's all it is, you guys. It's just taking the left stitches and moving them to the right. Okay, so I'm going to be continuing this instruction till I get to the length that the instructions tell me to get to. We'll pop back in, and then we'll do the other rectangles, which are a lot smaller in a sense. So it should be fine. All right. In silence. Alright, so I reached the length that it needs to be, and now I have to cast off my stitches. So let me show you how to do that. So we basically have to knit 2 stitches. So we'll do that right now. 1 and 2. So you're always going to want to have 2 stitches on your right needle and then everything else on your left. And what we want to do is now you want to pick up this first stitch and we're going to lift it up over the second one like a leapfrog, and then we're going to slip it off the right needle. So slip it off, keep that other loop still on there, and then we're going to remove the left needle off that loop. So now we have 1 stitch on our right needle and then all the rest on our left. So now, like I said, we always have to have 2 stitches on the right, so we're going to knit another one. So go into the next stitch here, do a knit stitch. So we're back to 2 stitches on our right needle. We're going to pick up this stitch and leapfrog it over the next one and slip it off the right needle, keeping this one still on here, and then we're going to move our left needle. So we're back to 1 again. So we just continue and do another knit stitch. Okay. Then we're going to leapfrog this stitch over this one and then off the right needle, keeping that stitch on here, removing it from the left. And you just continue this process till you get all the way down, and then I'm going to show you how to finish that off. So let's continue. Alright, so we're down to the last loop. Let's see, there's not really any weird notes. So I'm just going to cut this down. This is going to be about 1 inch or so. Like that. And then what I'm going to do is do a yarn over. We're going to wrap this yarn over the needle. I'm going to hold it with my middle and index, and we're just going to leapfrog this over that loop, and I'm going to pull it all the way out, and then I'm going to tighten this up. So we've completed our first rectangle. We still have the tail here. Alright, so now we're going to move on to the next rectangle. And it says that we're going to need an 8-inch tail this time. And I think, let me read ahead. I think the next rectangles all have 8-inch tails. Let me just see. Okay, yeah. The remaining ones have an 8-inch tail. All right. Again, we're just gonna switch our hands here. Make sure that the tail's down. I'm gonna pinch this at the same spot. So tail's down, feeder is up. I'm gonna keep this nice and tight. We're gonna keep our little grip on my middle and ring finger loose, but we're gonna spread apart this yarn here. I'm gonna take 2 fingers and we're gonna go up and we're gonna twist down, and then with our index and middle finger just grab this yarn and pull it through that loop, and then we're gonna push the knot towards my thumb. So keep pushing that till that knot is can't be pushed anymore. And once we get to that point where it won't move anymore, you can take your thumb and index and just pull out that excess piece just a little bit more to tighten up that knot. Don't pull it too tight. All right, then grab the knot and we're going to pull the feeder yarn to make this loop more manageable. So we have our loop, and then we can stick our knitting needles in here. Alright, so we're going to do the rectangle, the next rectangle. I wanted to take this brief moment to do another way of casting on. I just show this to show this, so it is an option to you. I don't prefer it because it's a little weird, but if you are having trouble with the needle, you can do it this way. What you want to do is take your 2 fingers again. This is the feeder yarn. We're going to grab it, we're going to turn it down like we did before to make a loop, and then you just throw it up on your needle and pull. Again, take your 2 fingers here. We're going to turn the loop down and then slip it onto the needle, and you can tighten it. Again, take your 2 fingers, twist it down, put the loop over the needle, and you can pull it a little tighter. Alright, and then we'll go about doing the rows like we've done. So for this next rectangle, keep making the rows as long as it tells you to make it, and I'm going to do this in silence. Alright, so I've reached the length that I'm supposed to make for this one, and we are going to cast off again. So like we did before, I'm going to knit 2 of these stitches. 1, 2, and then we're going to leapfrog this loop over the next one and off the right needle, and then off the left needle. Knit 1 again. We're going to leapfrog this loop over the next loop, off the right needle, and then off the left needle. And then last one, we're going to knit. Then we're going to leapfrog this loop over the next one, off the right needle, and off the left needle. And then I'm going to take my scissor, I'm going to cut about 1 inch or so. I'm going to do a yarn over, and I'm going to grab my needle, leapfrog this loop over the yarn over, off the right and then off the left, and we're going to pull this whole piece out and then tighten up that stitch, and we have our next rectangle. Alright, so now we just have 2 more to go. Again, I'm going to pull this out. We're going to do 8 inches. Okay. Keep pinching here. Switch hands. We just got to switch it one more time. You want your feeder yarn up here, your tail yarn down here. We're going to hold apart the yarn with the middle and the ring. Take 2 fingers, come up. We're going to twist it down, and then you're going to grab the yarn with your index and middle and pull it through that loop, and then push that very loose loop towards your thumb till you can't push it down anymore. Once you get to that point, you can then take your thumb and your index and pull a little bit more on that knot, tighten it up a little bit more, not too tight. We're going to grab the knot and we're going to pull the feeder yarn to make that loop a lot more manageable. And then we're going to slip our needle in here. Alright, so now we're going to put the amount of stitches required for this next rectangle. And these are supposed to be for the arms. And then we're going to make it as long as they ask you to make it. So I'm gonna complete this in silence, and then you have to make 2 of these. So that as well I'm going to do in silence. Alright, so I have my pieces and we are going to assemble. Okay, what do we have to do? Alright, so we gotta fold the big rectangle into, I guess, 3. Like that. I mean, it is a fold. Then we have to stitch along the skinny rectangle along each end. So we're making a box. And then we'll have to leave a gap for stuffing. Okay. So let's start on one end. I'm going to take this needle here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew this side first, and when I meet this long piece, I'm going to switch to this long piece because this 8-incher is not going to make it all the way around. And I have this manufacturer's knot. This came with the spool of yarn. It must have finished one larger spool and then they tied the two together to create the small spool that they give you. That normally happens. What you want to do is just flip it over and hide it. Alright, so it might be difficult to start with, but we want to try to make like stitch for stitch. But obviously you just, you know, don't stress too much about it. We're just going to do our best as we can to line up the edges while sewing. So again, I am going to take the length of this 8-inch tail and we're sewing around the stitches to get to the longer piece that we have here. And I hope that it's enough to go all the way around. So we did 32 inches of that. Hopefully those 32 work out, because this 8-incher is giving me a little scare. I mean, I think we'll make it. Yeah, we'll make it. I always worry about their size counts, because sometimes their sizes, the way they sew, how they stitch might work for them, but everybody has their own, you know, your stitches might be looser than mine, they might be tighter than mine, so, you know, the size won't always match up. And that's why it's important when they give you, like, it tells you the number of rows it should be, but just make sure when you measure, it's the measurement that it says that's more important, because that way it'll be the same size. Alright, so I just made a little knot here. I'm gonna go in and just tuck this inside the juice box, because we're gonna continue with the 32-inch tail end. And we're going to continue sewing all the way around, and hopefully it makes it. If not, you can always just grab another piece of orange yarn and try to finish off the rest. You'll just have to do some extra knots that you can hopefully hide as you make your stitches. don't know if this is going to make it all around. Alright, I'm just going to sew a little bit more and then we're going to start stuffing. Alright, does it say to put the stuffing? I'm assuming it does. Oh, it wants you to put the arms on each side. Why don't we just put the stuffing first? Because I've already got my needle here. Why would they... You know what I mean? Let's see. Yeah, I'm just going to do the stuffing first. We're already here. So I'm going to grab my... drop the needle. Hold on. Okay. I'm just going to take this now and stuff it up a little bit. Try to shape it at the same time. It has to look like a rectangle. If you really wanted crisp lines, you can cut pieces of cardboard and fit it on the sides, inside, so that it can be a nice, stiffly made juice box. Well, I'm just going to use stuffing here. Okay. Then I'm going to finish sewing this, and then we're going to attach the arms. And I guess it did make it all the way around, so that's a plus. Okay. So once we're here, I'm going to find a moment to tie my little tail off. And then once that is done, I'm just gonna, this isn't too long, I'm just gonna go in the project here. I'm gonna go in one side, come out the other. And we're going to pull this to where we can hide this tail piece. Okay, squish it in place. We can take this and give it a cut. You can stretch this and pull it till that tail disappears into the project. Okay. It's so funny, I used my own needle. I didn't even use the one that they gave me. I'll switch. It's late, everyone. Alright, so we have to stitch the arms on each side. It looks like we should weave this one in. Let's see if we can. So just take that piece. I don't know. I'm just gonna go in and out of the arm. Like this. I'm gonna pull this all the way out. So we kind of weaved it, you know. You can trim off the excess. Alright, then I'm gonna grab this 8-inch tail and we're gonna sew the arm on. So let's find a good side. I mean, it's kind of bulging down below here, so let's call that the bottom part. And then you can pick which side you want. I mean, this has a little bit of a, let's just pick this side. And it doesn't specify where to sew it, but it looks like they have it on the top portion here. So I'm just going to go stitch for stitch across the side here. Alright, and once that's in, I'm just going to lift this up. I'm going to tie a knot on the underside. This is kind of loose. Since we do have 8 inches, you can maybe do another pass underneath. I just don't like how loose I've got it at the moment, so I'm just going to go back in the other way. But I guess you can make your own arm and make it more secure. This is just a flap. At the end of the day, we're just sewing a flap on here. So it's not going to be strong, but I did it on top, I did on the bottom. It seems more, it's sturdier than it was. I'm going to find a moment in here underneath the arm to tie my knot. Okay. And then again, we're going to go in one side, out another. Pull this all the way through. And you can cut flush to the body and then squish it to disappear back inside. We got the one flap. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take the short tail and weave it into the arm, and then I'm going to take the 8-incher tail to sew onto the body. Now what you want to do is just make sure that you put the arm, the other arm, on the same row length so that it's in the same kind of, it's even. You don't want one arm sagging down. Okay. All right. I don't know, man. Okay. So now that we have our little juice box together, we have to stitch the label on the front, which is this. Oh my gosh. This is too cute. Alright. This is how much orange I have left, you guys. Comment below, let me know how much you have left. Well, I'm going to take what's left and I'm going to sew this label on. Alright, so what they have is straight stitches. So I'm going to start at one corner here and I'm going to tie my knot just so I can stabilize this thing here. Double knot it. Alright. What you're going to do is there's perforated holes. You can try to, it's going to poke out, I guess. Alright. But they're hard to see. They're there. You can remove them in advance or not. But we're going to do straight stitches. And what I'm going to do is, I'm sticking it through this hole. Okay. Then I want to put my needle in the same row as I did with this first one. So we're going to go in here. I'm trying to guesstimate where that center is. Alright, so we have that. And then I'm going to come back into this same hole. And it won't undo itself because you wrapped it around a stitch, one of these stitches. And then we're just going to continue on our way with our straight stitch. And you're just going to keep doing that all the way around. So once you get into this hole, you want to use the same row and wrap this around a stitch in the body, and then you can come back up into the same hole you just went in to do your straight stitch. Alright, so Okay, I reached the other side. Stick this through here. And then I'm gonna try to use that tail if it's still floating around here. Yeah, and I'm gonna use it to tie around twice. Okay. I'm gonna try to tuck this end piece inside the label, and then I'm gonna stick my needle under the label, come out through another side somewhere. All right. Make sure this disappear. Make sure this disappears. And then we're gonna cut this on its side. Squish out your box so that that little tail disappears. All right, so we've got our, oh my gosh, my arms are not on the same level. How is that even possible? I'll pull the arm down. All right, so we got the arm, we got the label. We have to twist the two pipe cleaners together to create this swirl. You can make the spirals as tight as you want or loose, up to you. Okay, and once you have that, you just have to push the straws into the top of the juice box. So I would go, sometimes they're off to the side. I'm going to do off to the side. So we're going to stick this in here. And I'm going to have it tilt a little bit. You can make one of those accordion straws and bend it for a little extra. All right. So here is our, what is the name of this? I didn't even name it in the beginning. Juicy Cutie. Definitely cutie. All right, comment below. Let me know how it went, where you got tripped up. Again, I think it would work best if you put little cardboard pieces to make sure that this was nice and straight and sturdy. This label is a saving grace. It's a very thick felt piece, so no matter what you do, it's like kind of flat, making everything look a little flat. I do have this little crooked. Oh, all right. The arms, not so much. I wish they were different, but it is what it is. So here's what it's supposed to look like. Not too shabby. Again, comment below and let me know what you think. Keep an eye out on the rest of the kits. Like I said, I am trying to finish up a bunch of the cafe crochet items, but I am going to be punching out the knit kits in between. So I'm not too sure what we have left, but I'm letting you guys know we've got about like 7 kits left of these little cute little knit kits from Five Below. And if I didn't mention it, they are from brightstripes.co. They don't have these kits on their website, but they do have other kits if you want to take a look at that. So thank you guys so much for watching. This is Isms by Josie. Please share, like, and subscribe for future videos, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks. Bye.